What's up, guys? Fabrice here. Welcome back to Le Secret de la Mode, where we talk about personal finance and sustainable fashion. And let's be real, payday can be a great feeling, right? But it can also be a bit annoying because you get that paycheck, and before you know it, your bank account is right back to zero. And now you're left wondering what just happened. So in today's video, I'm going to share how to manage your money on payday. It's all about being intentional and smart with your cash so you can stop working to pay bills and start making real progress towards your financial goal. Let's get started. Alright guys, we're going to move over to our Google Sheet dashboard so we can have a good idea of what we need to do whenever we get paid, right? So let's get to it. Alright everyone, this is the dashboard. So we're going to go over everything in this dashboard. So going from your total income, we're going to cover the fixed expenses. We're also going to cover our non-fixed expenses and our saving. All these four categories, and we're going to keep things as simple and general as possible, like beginner friendly, if that makes sense. And we're also going to go over this leftover category right here. So let's get started with the total income. So as of right now, I'm going to use myself as an example. Some of these numbers can be somewhat theoretical, but as of right now, I am currently a server at a restaurant, and the pay is not really consistent, it's inconsistent. So I usually make around, I have 950 a week, which is equivalent to close to $1,900 in 2 weeks. So I get paid bi-weekly, but we're gonna leave it weekly for the people out here who normally get paid weekly, which is equivalent to $3,800 a month. And if you're somebody out here, you have a second job, especially with most American living paycheck to paycheck, around 60% or more. So you might have a second job, and if you do, let's assume that you're a host at a second restaurant or whatever you're doing. I don't know. Let's call this restaurant 2. Assuming you're making 500, see it automatically adjusts, which is 2,000 a month, and this also adjusts. But to keep things as simple, we're going to keep this at 0. We're going to assume that you only have one job and you're not working. Let's make this income 2. You're not working a second job, but you also have one job. But with your job, it's pretty consistent, so let's keep it as that. But if you do have a second job, you can always update this right here. And any side hustle, as of right now, I do YouTube as a side hustle, and I make $0 from my YouTube channel, and that's exactly why you should subscribe and like this video if you gain any value from it. And so that's 0 a month. So that's about $950 a week for my total income, which is equivalent to $3,800 a month. Now we're done with this part. That's pretty simple. Again, if you have any other form of income, you can fill that out, and or any other side hustles, you can also put that in as well. And if you don't, this is how simple it's gonna get. Now let's go to our fixed expenses. So for our fixed expenses, we're going to assume everything is fixed, like it's called fixed expenses, that these numbers is not going to change, it's going to remain constant. So for example, with me, I live in an apartment. I got really lucky with this apartment. It's a studio apartment, by the way. I pay around $1,100 a month. So we're assuming that we're putting away $275 every week whenever we get paid to the side, just so we can meet that $1,100 a month target. And also groceries, we could have this under non-fixed expenses, but we're assuming that we only spend $200 on groceries every month. That doesn't change. So we're putting away $50 a week for groceries. Also the gym membership, it depends what gym you go to. I live in Los Angeles, LA Fitness. There's no Crunch in Los Angeles or anything, but we're assuming that I put $10 a week or a week, and that's about $40 a month for LA Fitness. Utilities, same thing, which is equivalent to $106. And I don't drive, I do take the bus. So, and transportation shouldn't be as high because my job is about 30 minutes away from my house. So I should say transportation is around 30. Transportation, don't really, $20 a week, which is equivalent to $80 a month. So again, if you're somebody who drive, you can easily modify this, especially with gas prices right now. This might be higher for you, but for me, I don't drive, I don't have a car, and I barely take the bus. I walk a lot, which is a good thing. So my transportation is pretty low. And if you have any student loan, You can also do that as well. I don't have any student loan. So this is right here, zero for student loan. Phone bill, same thing. Insurance, about $40 a month. Subscription, that again, if this is pretty high because I am subscribed to a lot of um I do have a high subscription package. You know, Netflix, Hulu, Apple. I watch a lot of those. So for somebody who has different type of subscription package, you can also modify that as well. So as of right now, as out of the $950 a week I'm getting, I'm already spending $480 on my fixed expenses, which is good so far. We're spending less than we're making, and this is what you want to do. So again, that's a good thing right now. But let's now go to our non-fixed expenses. All right, let me move this here. So this is where things get very interesting, right, with our non-fixed expenses. Because with our non-fixed expenses, it just means that they varies from time to time, right? For example, maybe like last month I didn't really go out much. Let's start with dining, right? Yeah, so I didn't really go out much for dining. So that was pretty much zero, meaning that I didn't dining, which is zero. So I didn't put in, even though I had money aside for dining, I didn't really go out for dining. So that it's pretty much zero. So let's say this month I went out twice, and usually when you go out with your friend, you guys split the check. The bills is probably gonna come out to be around $35. And you notice how this right here changes to 140 because we're assuming that times four because you go out every week. That's $35 a week, and it's $140 a month. So but you can always make the adjustment. Let's say you went out twice this month, that would be $70, right? So you went out twice this month, which means that this doesn't necessarily have to be, this will just equal this, right? This is how much money you spent this month. But again, we're just assuming that, we're going to assume that you're just putting, oh, thank you, Lord. That's not true. There you go, $35. But we're going to assume that you're just naturally putting away $35 every week towards $140 a month just for dining out, whether you're going out or not, just to have that money there. And for entertaining, this is usually like movies, theaters, clubbing, partying. Again, I don't really go to parties much, but I do go to the movie theaters a lot. So we're gonna leave this at around $20, more like $25. So I am spending around $100 a month on movie theaters. I usually try to go to the movies twice a month, depending on what movie that's coming out. But again, it depends on when beginning or end of the month. But I'm still putting away $25 every week towards $100 just so I can have that money there. And as for my credit card, I have the MX. And with credit cards, you do not want to spend more on your credit card. And this is where things get very complicated. Always spend the amount that you know you can pay back. Do not do it, guys. Spend the amount you know you can pay back and call it a day. And that's exactly what I do with my credit card. I try to keep my credit card balance as low as possible. So I am spending around $200. Or if anything, I try to pay my bills and just pay them right back once I just make that payment. So I have $50 a week I'm putting away for credit card because I spent around $200 on my credit card. And for miscellaneous, that's $30. Hobbies, shopping, that's like going to things like going to buy new clothes, buy new shoes, etc. And that's around $120 a month we're putting away for shopping. And if you have another credit card, I do have the Apple credit card in the MX, but I leave that at zero because I don't really use the Apple credit card much. So right now we're spending $210 on our non-fixed expenses a week, which is equivalent to $840 a month. So again, we're spending less. We're spending less than we're making, which is a good thing. Again, that's what you want to do. You want to spend as less as possible than you're making. And this is where things start to get very interesting when you start to go to your saving. And here's your saving, guys. So now, with your saving, sorry about that. So now, with your saving, here's what you want to do. We have your 401k, typical. So we're assuming that you're putting 10% away. So let me redo this for you guys. 10% of your total income goes towards your 401k. That's 0.1. That's around $95 a week. Once you get paid, you take $95. You put that in your 401k. That's $380 a month. And for this total right here, we're assuming that whatever you currently had in that 401k plus what you're adding. So we're assuming you had $1,500 plus that $380. which is $1,800. That's how much you have in your 401k right now. And for emergency fund, like they normally say, you want to have at least 6 months of money worth just in case if something bad was to happen to you. So that's about 2% of your income. Since the leftover right here is positive, let's increase this to 3%. So instead of, can we increase this? Okay, so we just increased this to 5% on our emergency fund. So we're assuming that 5% of our total income is going to our emergency fund. That's $47 a week, which is equivalent to $190 a week. Again, same concept. Whatever you currently had in your emergency fund plus what you're currently adding right now is your total amount. And for your short-term saving, this is where things get interesting. Your short-term saving is money you want to use. For example, let's say like things you want, not what you necessarily need, right? Let's say you want to go on a vacation. You don't necessarily have to use your emergency fund because again, it's for emergency purposes. But with your short-term saving, you can use that money for that vacation. See that? Then that's why I say have a short-term saving. So money like you want to buy things that you want, not what you need. Let's say you want to buy a new phone, for example. Not that you really need a new phone. Your current phone probably work, but because you feel like you need a new phone, use your short-term saving. And in terms of your short-term saving, since again we still have positive here up there, money left over, we could do 3%. Let's do 5% as well. Nah, because we want to have more in our investment, so let's do 3%, which is $114 a month in our short-term saving. So again, same concept, whatever we have now in our short term plus what we currently adding. So that's really good for your next vacation, guys. And in terms of investment, you also want to have some money on the side. And this is not financial advice, by the way. Let's say, for example, you invest that same $47 in the S&P 500, right? Again, not financial advice. Assuming you had $1,000, you invest $1,000 in the S&P 500. Historically, the S&P bring a return of 10% a year. You would have $1,100 by the end of the year. So if you're constantly putting 190s every month in the S&P 500, you should expect to have around 2,500 by the end of the month. So we're assuming that you're putting $47 in the S&P 500 every week, which is $190 a month. So you can expect to have a lot in your total amount. This is just hypothetical, but since we have some more money left over, let's increase this to, let's see, can we do 10%? No, we cannot. Let's do 7%. Whoa, I think I may have done, there you go, 7%. So we're investing $66 in the every week in the S&P and $266 a month. So for our total saving, we currently have $6,440, which is a good thing. And again, we're still going positive because we still have more money left over. So again, keeping things very general, guys. But here's where things get very interesting, right? So now you might be wondering, well, what do I do with this $22.50 or this $9 a month? There's this thing called zero-based budgeting where you want your total income minus your total expense to equal to zero. I don't really believe in that because I feel like that's really unrealistic, especially with the era we're living now. If you have some money left over, that's a good thing. This is what I like to call do whatever you want money. Like you have $22.50, well, do whatever you want with it. It doesn't necessarily have to go to any specific category. This right here is what I would leave on my checking account. Like my whatever I want. It can also be part of your miscellaneous. You go out, you end up just purchasing random stuff. Not that you need them, but stuff that you want. Or if you want to increase your short-term saving, you can do that as well. But this right here is your do whatever you want money. You don't really need it. It doesn't necessarily have to go to a specific category. It's just money that you have that's just there because all your categories are already being met. So if you want to, for example, let's say you wanted to increase something else, maybe you wanted to, let's see, you wanted to increase your entertainment, you wanted to buy more stuff, we can turn this to $30. That's my non-fixed expense just increase. Or your short-term saving, again, you might be able to increase this to 5%. Nope, we can't do it. 4%. Fine, now we have $8 in our checking, which is our leftovers, and which is $32 a month. And the cool thing about this is, let's assume you're doing that every week, right? You every week you have $8, $8, it compounded. At some point it could become a lot depending if you spend it or not. But again, this is your do whatever I want on money, and You don't really need to do anything else. You don't have to have your total income minus your total expense equal to zero. And if you ever need to spend money, you could just use the leftover money. And I think this is more realistic. And if this was to turn out to be negative, let's say for example, let me give you guys an example. You are spending on entertainment $50. Now what happened? Well, now we're at negative 12 weekly. We're at negative 48. And this is where the cool part comes in, right? You can now start to have an overall look of your budget and now see where do you want to modify things. Like, okay, I'm putting 10% of my 401k. How important is that to me? If that's really important, you don't have to change that. My emergency fund, I'm putting 5% of that. That's really important to me. My short-term saving, not that important. I'm gonna drop that to 3%. My investment, I'm gonna leave that as that because I'm getting more money in the future. But my dining out entertainment, let's drop this to 45. Hell no, guys. I mean 45. There you go. So now again we're back to positive. We have $2.50 left as positive number as our do whatever we want money. So again, you can keep adjusting this till you find your sweet spot. And again, it doesn't have to be zero, but we can make it zero if you want to. For example, let's say we can increase miscellaneous to $32. I guess if we do $32.50, that will be zero. So you see that your total income here equals your total expense, but it doesn't necessarily have to be. And let's say if we just leave this at $30, we have $2.50 now. Do whatever we want fun. So there it is, guys. This is a more general, basic overview of what to do with your paycheck every week. So whenever you get paid every week, start with your total income, go down to your fixed expenses, then you go to your non-fixed expenses, and then you go to your saving. And if this number right here, your leftover number is negative, you start to modify things. You start to adjust your budget so you can always remain positive. It doesn't have to be zero. You just want to be in the positive. And if you're just starting out, it might just be that you have a really big negative number. Like let's say, bring this to $100. Like right now, you're negative 52. You're negative 210 by the end of the month. And that's fine. Your goal is to get this every week or every month. Your goal is to slowly bring this down as much as possible. Maybe instead of doing $100 in entertainment this month, or I mean this week, you do $70 in entertainment. You see now you're down negative $90. And you might say, okay, instead of having let's say shopping, we might just drop this to $25. Now we down negative 70. What else can we adjust? We don't want to adjust our food, but we do want to make some changes. Our short-term saving, we might drop this to 2% just in case. Now we're down negative 32. So again, it doesn't necessarily have to be perfect because obviously we're not perfect. You just want to make sure you're slowly but surely trying to get to positive. It doesn't have to be equal zero. It just want to be slightly in the positive, even by $1, even by 50 cents. As long as you're slightly positive, you're on the winning side. And again, this is a basic overview of how to manage your budget whenever you get paid every week. And if you guys want this template, I'll leave a link in the bottom of the video so you guys can try it out yourself. It's pretty simple, it's pretty basic, and if you have multiple income, you can also put this as well. And anything else you think I should modify in this budget, just comment down below to let me know, because I made this with the assumption that it's going to be pretty simple for you guys. And if you guys think this is really useful, you gain any value from this video, leave a like, don't forget to subscribe, and push the notification bell for more on personal finance in sustainable fashion. And thank you guys for watching this video, and I'll see you guys in our next video.